everyone, it's Melissa and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hello and welcome. On this video, we'll be making a bead cluster using the Softlex Design Kit beads from Exotic Blooms Bead Mix, and I will go ahead and leave a link down below in the description for the products that I am using. I'm using some 7mm check glass beads, size 11 seed beads, some thread, and of course your needle for your bead weaving. We're making this adorable little bead cluster. You can use it as a pendant bead, even an earring, and it's super sparkly. So it's just basically a bead ball or a bead cluster, and then we're going to embellish it with the yellow flowers. Let's start creating. I'm always posting new tutorials and content, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, so you'll be notified when I post new content. So we're going to use about 36 inches, so 3 feet of thread. And I know sometimes bead weaving can be a little scary, but this one is a very beginner-friendly project. And there's so many different variations that you can do with it. So we're going to have about 3 feet of thread, and you can work on the bobbin if needed, or if you want to cut it off of the spool, you can just go and use a bead stopper. So we're going to thread a needle. And to start, this is just going to be right angle weave. So we're going to pick up 4 of our green beads, and we're just going to thread them on our needle. And I know when we're using check glass and kind of this bigger size of 7mm, it's going to seem a little odd that we're using thread. You can also use Softlex fine wire if you would like. We have the beads at the ends of our thread. We just slid them on through this way, so we're going to go the opposite way. I think the most repetitive part of this project is just the reinforcing. We're just going to slide through. We're going to have kind of a messy little circle. And we're just going to go back and reinforce. You want to go maybe 3 or 4 times. So we should have our little circle. And tension is key, so you want to make sure that everything lines up and everything is secure. So we have our little unit here. We're going to pick up 3 check glass beads. We're exiting this way, so we're going to go in the opposite way. And go and pull. And you can see how we're building our little unit. So we're just going to go back through and reinforce. So we reinforce this little component. We want to make sure that we're exiting off of this top bead. So I have my thread going this way off this top bead. We're just going to put 3 more beads in. So we're exiting this way, and we're just going to crisscross the other way and give it a pull. And then we're going to do the same thing and reinforce. So we have our little component. So ideally, you could just keep going and make a bracelet out of this way, and this is just right angle weave. Then we're going to turn it into a cluster out of that top bead. You rotate here. So we're coming out of this top bead. We're going to pick up 1 of our check glass beads. Instead of doing the whole crisscross like we have been doing, we're going to change it up a little bit. So we're coming out of this one here. We're going to crisscross where we first started. And we're going to pull. You can see how it started to form your little ball shape or your cube. We're going to grab our last size 7 mm bead. And what I found is really helpful is go ahead and pinch your little unit here. So that way it stabilizes it and you can thread it through. So we're exiting this one. We're going to go crisscross on top and give it a pull. And by pulling it, we have our little cube. Now that top part that we just added on with those two beads is very, very unstable. So we're just going to pass back through and reinforce this until our cube is nice and secure. And if there's any other parts where you're just a little unsure of, just go ahead and reinforce again. Doesn't hurt to pass the needle through. And through this whole project, you'll have several chances to reinforce your component. So we're just going to keep reinforcing it till we have our nice secure bead ball. So we have our little bead ball. These are super cute, very sparkly. And now you can leave it as is if you want to. You would just tie off your working threads into your project and you have a pendant or an earring. But we're just going to go ahead and embellish it with our little yellow flowers. We have our 3 seed beads. We're going to slide on a flower and 1 more seed bead. We're just going to let that slide all the way down. Now with our thread, we're going to skip that last seed bead that we put on and just pass back through the yellow flower and give it a pull. And then we're going to pick up 3 more seed beads. And we're going to go through this bead on top and just pull. You'll have your little yellow flower on top, but it's not quite center. So we're going to pick up 3 more seed beads. This part might be a little tricky. We have 3 more seed beads. We're going to go back through our yellow bead. And then through our seed bead on top. And back through. Right now we have 3 little connection points to our yellow flower, and we need our 4th one. So we're going to do the same thing with the 3 seed beads, and this is going to make our 4th connection point. So now we need to go through this green bead and pass back through. So as I had mentioned earlier, you really are passing through these green beads a lot. So if it's wobbly or unstable at all, it's going to secure by the end of your project. And you have your little yellow flower embellishment. So we're going to put 3 more of those on. So we're just going to rotate our check glass to the next little section here. We have our little bead ball cluster. So pretty with that sparkle. So now with your tail threads, you can just either make a knot and pass back through your beads, or pass back through your beads a couple times, make the knot, and then just work back through the beads and any of the loose areas that you may feel you have. And this will just stabilize your bead ball. So I have it passed through a few times, and we're just going to make a couple knots on our thread. 3 or 4 is good. And when your knot passes back through any part of your bead ball, you'll hear a little click, and that will secure it underneath one of your beads. A great way to finish off your little cluster is have your 2 end threads meet at the same bead, and then just go ahead and tie a couple knots and pass them back through your project. So I have one of my end threads here. I'm just going to go around these last couple green beads until I get to that thread. So I'm at the same little thread, my two end threads. We're just going to trim off a good length. And I will just go ahead and make a couple knots on here. Just go ahead and make a couple knots and give it a good pull. And this will create your tension and secure all of your component. Make sure everything is nice and secure. You'll just do that 3 or 4. So we have our knot nice and secure. We're just going to trim off our tail. And then with this longer thread, I'm just going to pass it back through, reinforce the last little component here, part of my component. Then I'll just trim off the extra thread, and we have a beautiful little bead ball cluster using check glass and the Exotic Blooms bead mix from Softlex Company. So you could do earrings with these. You could put them on a necklace. You could make several of them. Just look at that sparkle. You made your own little bead cluster. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe for other content and upcoming tutorials. Have a wonderful day.